Welcome to Wonderful Story, where love, drama, and unforgettable moments come to life. Get ready to feel every emotion in stories you won't forget. So let's begin. Part 1. The Wrong Car. Asher didn't believe in luck. Luck was for amateurs, the kind who got caught because they relied on chance instead of control. Asher believed in patterns, predictable human behavior, careless wealth, security systems that looked impressive but were built by people who underestimated men like him. Tonight was supposed to be simple. A black luxury SUV idled in the private lane outside one of the most exclusive clubs in the city. The kind of place where money wasn't just spent, it was displayed. The owner had stepped out 15 minutes ago. Valet distracted. Guards relaxed. Cameras mapped. Asher leaned against a dimly lit wall across the street. Hood pulled low, eyes sharp and calculating. He watched, counted, waited. Timing mattered more than anything. Couple stumbled out laughing. A businessman barked into his phone. A woman adjusted her heels. Annoyed. Noise. Movement. Distraction. Perfect. Asher moved. No hesitation. No wasted motion. He crossed the street like he belonged there. Like he owned everything in sight. Confidence was the best disguise. Better than masks. Better than shadows. He reached the SUV, slipped a slim device from his pocket, and worked fast. 3 seconds. 4. 5. A soft click. The door unlocked. He slid into the driver's seat, already plugging in a bypass tool, fingers dancing with practiced ease. "Come on," he muttered under his breath. The system flickered. Then, the engine hummed to life. Clean. Effortless. Just another job. Asher allowed himself the smallest exhale of satisfaction as he pulled away from the curb. Too easy. It always worried him when it felt too easy. But still, nothing unusual. No alarms. No shouting. No guards running after him. Just the quiet glide of stolen luxury through city streets. He adjusted the rearview mirror out of habit. And that's when he saw it. A shape, in the back seat. Still. Too still. Asher's grip on the wheel tightened. No! He squinted, leaning slightly, trying to make sense of the shadow stretched across the leather seats. Then the figure shifted. A low, uneven breath filled the silence. Asher swore under his breath. "You've got to be kidding me." There was a man in the back seat. Not just any man. Even in the dim light, it was obvious, expensive suit, tailored to perfection. Shoes that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. A watch glinting faintly at his wrist. Wealth practically radiating off him. And completely unconscious. Asher's first instinct was immediate. Dump him. Pull over. Drag him out. Disappear before this turned into something messy. He scanned the road ahead. Empty stretch. No cameras in sight for the next block. Perfect spot. He slowed the car slightly. The man shifted again, his head rolling to the side. A soft, broken sound slipped from his lips. "Don't." Asher froze. His foot hovered over the brake. "Don't marry." The words were slurred, barely coherent, but clear enough. Asher frowned, glancing at the mirror again. The man didn't wake, didn't move beyond that small, restless shift. Just lay there. Like the world had already crushed him and he'd decided to stop fighting back. Asher exhaled slowly. "Great," he muttered. "Not just drunk. Tragic too. He should still dump him. This wasn't his problem. This was never supposed to be his problem. But something about it, something about the way the words had come out. Not dramatic, not loud, just tired, stuck, annoying, unnecessary, complicating. Asher clicked his tongue and pressed the accelerator instead. "Fine," he muttered. "You get 10 minutes. Then you're someone else's problem." The drive stretched longer than 10 minutes. Longer than Asher intended. The city lights thinned out, replaced by quieter roads and half-abandoned industrial stretches. Places where no one asked questions. Places where Asher disappeared when he needed to. The man in the backseat didn't wake. Didn't move. Didn't even groan again. Just breathed. Steady. Alive. Asher kept checking the mirror. He didn't know why. Maybe to make sure the guy wasn't dead. Yeah. That had to be it. Dead bodies were a whole different level of trouble. He pulled into an unmarked garage, the metal door sliding shut behind him with a low rumble. Safe, hidden, his space. The engine died, and silence filled the air. For a moment, Asher just sat there, staring ahead. Then, "This is stupid." He got out, opened the back door, and finally got a proper look at his unexpected passenger. Up close, the man looked even more out of place. Clean features, sharp jawline, hair slightly disheveled but clearly styled with intention. His shirt was wrinkled now, but it had once been pristine. There was something else too. Not just drunk. Exhausted. The kind that went deeper than alcohol. Asher studied him for a second longer than necessary, then sighed. "All right, Sleeping Beauty," he muttered. "Let's get you inside before you turn into a police report." Getting him out of the car wasn't graceful. The man was heavier than he looked, dead weight slumping against Asher as he dragged him toward the stairs. "Rich people really don't do anything themselves, huh?" Asher grunted. No response. Of course. Inside, the safe house was minimal, clean, sparse, functional. A couch, a small kitchen, a narrow hallway leading to a bedroom. Asher dropped him onto the couch with less care than he probably should have. The man groaned softly but didn't wake. "Still alive," Asher muttered. "Good enough." He stepped back, running a hand through his hair, already regretting everything about this situation. This wasn't part of the job. This wasn't part of any plan. He should have walked away, should have left the car, should have dumped the guy. Instead, he was standing in his own safe house with a stolen SUV in the garage and an unconscious stranger on his couch. Fantastic. Asher turned toward the kitchen, grabbing a bottle of water and setting it down on the table beside the couch. Not out of kindness, just practicality. Yeah. That. He glanced back one last time. "You better be gone when I wake up," he muttered. But even as he said it, he knew that wasn't how this was going to go. Morning came slower than expected, and when the man finally stirred, everything was about to get a lot more complicated. Part 2. The offer. Finn woke up like he was surfacing from deep water. Slow, heavy, unwilling. His head throbbed, a dull, punishing ache that pulsed behind his eyes. His mouth was dry, his throat burning faintly like regret left too long. For a moment he didn't move, didn't open his eyes, because if he stayed still just a little longer, maybe reality wouldn't catch up yet. Maybe he wouldn't remember. But memory didn't wait. It hit all at once. The party, the noise, the congratulations he didn't want, the hand on his shoulder, the word fiancé echoing like a sentence instead of a promise. Finn's breath hitched slightly. "No," he murmured under his breath. "Not again." He forced his eyes open, and immediately froze. This wasn't his room. The ceiling was wrong. The lighting dim, unfamiliar. The couch beneath him firm, not the kind he owned. Finn sat up too quickly. Bad idea. The world tilted, his vision blurring as nausea twisted in his stomach. "Shit," he breathed, pressing a hand to his temple. "Yeah," a voice said from somewhere nearby. "That about sums it up." Finn's head snapped toward the sound. A man leaned casually against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, watching him. Dark clothes, sharp eyes, expression unreadable. Not staff, not security, not anyone Finn recognized. "Where am I?" Finn asked, voice rough. Finn's head snapped toward the sound. A man leaned casually against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, watching him. Dark clothes, sharp eyes, expression unreadable. Not staff, not security, not anyone Finn recognized. "Where am I?" Finn asked, voice rough. The man tilted his head slightly, like he was considering how honest to be. "Somewhere you're not supposed to be," he said finally. Not helpful. Finn frowned, trying to focus past the pounding in his skull. "And you are." The man pushed off the counter, stepping closer, but not too close. Measured distance. Careful. "Asher." Just that. No last name. No explanation. Finn noticed. Filed it away. Asher, he repeated slowly. Did you? He paused. Something clicked. The last clear memory before everything blurred. Getting into his car. The SUV. Finn's eyes sharpened slightly. You stole it, he said. It wasn't a question. Asher didn't deny it. Yep. Just like that. Casual. Unbothered. Finn blinked. Once. Twice. Processing. He looked around again, really looked this time. Minimal space. No personal clutter. No signs of a normal life. A place meant to be temporary. Or hidden. So let me get this straight, Finn said slowly, voice still hoarse but steadier now. You stole my car. Correct. I was in the back seat. Unfortunately, yes. And instead of what? Dumping me somewhere. You brought me here. Asher shrugged slightly. You looked like you'd die if I left you in an alley. Finn stared at him. That wasn't what he expected. And that concerned you? Finn asked, one eyebrow lifting faintly. Asher's expression didn't change. Dead bodies complicate things. Ah, there it was. Finn let out a quiet breath, almost a laugh, but not quite. Right? Of course. Silence settled for a moment. Not awkward, just charged. Finn reached for the water bottle beside him, unscrewing it with slightly unsteady hands. He drank slowly, letting the coolness ground him. Asher watched, not openly staring but not looking away either. Observing, evaluating, like he still hadn't decided what to do with him. Finn lowered the bottle. You're good at what you do, he said. Asher raised an eyebrow. That a compliment? An observation. Finn leaned back slightly against the couch, studying him in return now. You didn't panic, didn't call anyone, didn't abandon the car. He tilted his head. You adapted. Asher gave a small, unimpressed huff. You always this talkative after waking up in a stranger's place? Finn ignored that. Instead, he asked, Do you know who I am? There it was. The question. The shift. Asher hesitated just for a second, then shrugged. Rich. Drunk. Bad decisions. That's enough. Finn almost smiled. Almost. Finn Calder, he said. The name hung in the air. If Asher recognized it, he didn't show it. But something flickered in his gaze. Just briefly. Should I be impressed? Asher asked. Most people are. I'm not most people. Finn believed that. It was obvious. Everything about Asher, his stance, his tone, the way he carried himself, screamed it. He wasn't intimidated. Wasn't impressed. Wasn't playing the usual game. And for the first time in a long while, Finn felt something other than exhaustion. Interest. He leaned forward slightly, elbows resting on his knees. I'm supposed to get married in 3 days, he said. Asher blinked. That wasn't where he expected this to go. Congrats. Finn let out a soft, humorless laugh. Yeah, that's what everyone keeps saying. Something in his tone shifted. Cracked. I don't want to. There it was again. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just honest. Flat. Tired. Asher studied him more carefully now. This wasn't just some spoiled rich guy throwing a tantrum. This was something else. Then don't, Asher said simply. Finn shook his head. It's not that simple. It never is, Asher replied. Finn exhaled slowly, dragging a hand through his hair. They've planned everything. Announced it. Built deals around it. His jaw tightened. It's not a wedding. It's a transaction. Asher didn't say anything, but he understood. More than Finn probably expected. Silence stretched again. Then, Finn looked up. Really looked at him this time. Sharp. Focused. Like he'd made a decision. Kidnap me, he said. Asher blinked. What? Finn didn't hesitate. Keep me here. A week. Asher stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You're joking. I'm not. You want me to kidnap you? Yes. You're aware that's illegal, right? Finn shrugged slightly. You already stole my car. That's different. How? I didn't plan on stealing the owner too. Finn smiled faintly at that. It was the first real smile. And it hit harder than it should have. I'll pay you, Finn said. Asher's expression didn't change. I already got a car out of this. I'll make it worth more. That got his attention. Just a little. Asher narrowed his eyes. How much? Finn named a number. The room went very, very quiet. Asher let out a low breath. You're serious? Completely. You'd pay that much just to avoid your own wedding? Finn's gaze didn't waver. Yes. No hesitation. No doubt. Just certainty. Asher ran his tongue against his teeth, thinking, this was insane, ridiculous, terrible idea. And yet, the number echoed in his head, along with something else, curiosity. And what's the catch? Asher asked. Finn tilted his head slightly. You keep me here. No contact with the outside world. A pause. And you don't ask me to go back. Asher scoffed lightly. Trusting a car thief with that kind of deal is bold. Finn held his gaze. I don't think you're the kind of person who breaks a deal once you accept it. That landed. Harder than expected. Asher looked away for a second. Then back. You don't know anything about me. No. Finn agreed softly. But I'd like to. Silence. Thick. Heavy. Dangerous in a way neither of them fully understood yet. Asher exhaled slowly. 1 week, he said. Finn's eyes flickered. Deal? Asher hesitated. Just for a second. Then, deal. Finn leaned back, something like relief washing over his features. Not joy, not excitement, just freedom, borrowed, temporary, but real. And Asher had just made the worst decision of his life. Or the one that would change everything. Asher scoffed lightly. Trusting a car thief with that kind of deal is bold. Finn held his gaze. I don't think you're the kind of person who breaks a deal once you accept it. That landed. Harder than expected. Asher looked away for a second. Then back. You don't know anything about me. No. Finn agreed softly. But I'd like to. Silence. Thick. Heavy. Dangerous in a way neither of them fully understood yet. Asher exhaled slowly. 1 week, he said. Finn's eyes flickered. Deal? Asher hesitated. Just for a second. Then, deal. Finn leaned back, something like relief washing over his features. Not joy, not excitement, just freedom, borrowed, temporary, but real. And Asher had just made the worst decision of his life. Or the one that would change everything. Part 3: Rules of the Game. Asher had rules. Not written, not spoken, but strict, necessary. They were the reason he was still alive. And right now, every single one of them was being tested. Finn was not acting like a hostage. At all. He wasn't scared. Wasn't angry. Wasn't even particularly concerned. Instead, he was standing in the middle of Asher's safe house kitchen. Sleeves rolled up, staring into an open cabinet like he was mildly disappointed. You don't have real food, Finn said. Asher, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, blinked. I have food. Finn pulled out a packet. Instant noodles. He looked at it, then at Asher, then back at the packet. This is not food. It keeps you alive. That's not the same thing. Asher let out a short, dry laugh. You're kidnapped. Adjust your standards. Finn didn't even look fazed. He closed the cabinet calmly and turned to face him. You're doing this wrong. Asher stared at him. I'm sorry, what? The kidnapping. Finn gestured vaguely around them. There's no intimidation, no threats, no restraints. A beat. You didn't even take my phone. Asher frowned slightly. You didn't have one on you. Finn reached into his pocket and pulled it out. Asher straightened. You're kidding. Finn casually placed it on the counter. I turned it off. Why? Finn looked at him like the answer was obvious. Because I said I'd stay. Silence. Asher didn't like that. Didn't like how easily Finn had walked into this. Like it wasn't dangerous. Like Asher wasn't dangerous. You're either very stupid, Asher said slowly, or very desperate. Finn held his gaze. Both. No hesitation. No deflection. Just truth. And somehow that was worse. Asher pushed himself off the wall, stepping closer. Not aggressive, but not relaxed either. You understand I could still walk away, he said. Take the car. Leave you here. Deal's over. Finn nodded once. You could. And you haven't. That again. That quiet certainty. Like Finn had already figured him out. Asher clicked his tongue. Annoyed. We need rules. Finn tilted his head slightly. All right. First, Asher pointed toward the phone. That stays off. Agreed. No contacting anyone. Obviously. You don't leave this place without me. Finn hesitated. Just a fraction. Asher caught it. Problem? Finn shook his head. No. Just not used to being confined. Asher smirked faintly. Get used to it. Finn didn't argue. Didn't push. He just nodded again. Your turn, Asher said. You wanted this arrangement. What do you want? Finn considered that. Then, no lies. Asher raised an eyebrow. That's a big ask. I'm not asking for everything, Finn said calmly. Just don't lie to me. Asher studied him carefully. Why? Finn's gaze dropped briefly, then returned. Because everyone else already does. That landed heavier than expected. Asher looked away first this time. Fine, he muttered. No lies. A pause. Anything else? Finn hesitated again. Then, quieter. Don't treat me like I'm fragile. Asher blinked. That wasn't what he expected either. You're paying me to keep you here, he said. Not babysit your feelings. Good. Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them. Not trust. Not yet. But understanding. Sharp. Uneasy. Real. The first day settled into something strange. Not quite normal. But not chaotic either. Finn explored the space like he was cataloging it. Mentally mapping every corner, every detail. Asher noticed. Of course he did. You always analyze everything like that? He asked at one point. Finn glanced at him. I like knowing where I am. Why? Finn shrugged slightly. Control. Asher huffed. Yeah, that's not happening here. Finn almost smiled. Almost. I noticed. By evening, the tension had shifted. Less sharp. More charged. Finn sat on the couch, flipping through a book he'd found. One of the few things in the safe house that hinted at Asher being more than just a thief. It wasn't what he expected. Not crime-related. Not technical. Something older. Worn. Used. You read? Finn asked without looking up. Asher, across the room, didn't respond immediately. Then, sometimes, Finn glanced at him. That didn't sound convincing. Asher shrugged. I don't do it for fun. Then why? A pause. Because it's quiet. Finn didn't push further. But he understood. More than Asher probably wanted him to. Later, the air had cooled. The city outside distant and muted. Finn stood near the window, looking out into the darkness. Asher watched him from the doorway. You're not trying to escape, he said. Not a question. Finn didn't turn. No. Why? A beat. Then, because I don't want to go back. Simple. But not light. Asher stepped closer. Running doesn't fix things. Finn let out a quiet breath. I'm not trying to fix anything. He finally turned. I steady. I just want a week where it's not decided for me. That hit somewhere deeper than Asher expected. He frowned slightly. And after that? Finn held his gaze. After that, I go back. Like it was inevitable. Like it was already decided. Asher didn't like that answer. Didn't like how final it sounded. But he didn't argue. Instead, you're wasting a lot of money for 1 week, he said. Finn's lips curved faintly. Maybe. A pause. Then softer. Or maybe it's the only week that's actually mine. Silence settled again. Heavier this time. Not uncomfortable. Just full. Asher leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Watching him. Trying to understand him. And failing. Finn wasn't what he expected. Not weak. Not spoiled. Not shallow. Just trapped. In a different way than Asher. But trapped all the same. And somehow, That made this whole situation more dangerous than any job he'd ever taken. That night, neither of them slept easily. Finn lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Awake, thinking. Asher stayed in the doorway longer than he should have. Watching, making sure. Not because he didn't trust Finn, but because he didn't trust himself. By morning, the lines between kidnapper and hostage had already started to blur, and neither of them knew how far that would go. Part 4. Crossing lines. By the second day, the space felt smaller. Not physically, but mentally. Finn noticed it first. He wasn't used to stillness like this, not without purpose, not without control. His life had always been movement, decisions, expectations stacked one after another like dominoes waiting to fall. Here, there was nothing. No schedule, no pressure, no voices telling him what came next. It should have felt freeing. Instead, it felt incomplete. Finn stood by the window again, staring out at the quiet street below. "I need air," he said. Behind him, Asher didn't even look up. "No." Finn turned. "That wasn't a suggestion." "Yeah," Asher replied flatly. "And that wasn't permission." Finn exhaled slowly, walking closer. "You said no leaving without you." "I did." "Then come with me." Asher finally looked at him. Sharp. Assessing. "You think this is a field trip?" "I think staying locked in here for a week isn't part of the deal." "It's exactly part of the deal." Finn shook his head. No, the deal was staying hidden. Not suffocating. That word hung there. Asher didn't like it. Didn't like how easily Finn said it. Like he knew exactly what it meant. "You're not used to not getting your way, are you?" Asher said. Finn met his gaze without flinching. "I'm not used to being treated like I don't have one." Silence. Tense. Sharp. Then, Asher sighed, dragging a hand through his hair. "Fine." Finn blinked. "That was easier than expected." "Don't get used to it," Asher muttered. "We go out, we keep it quick. No attention. No mistakes." Finn nodded. "Understood." Asher pointed at him. "And you listen to me. A beat. Every time." Finn held his gaze. Then, "All right." They changed fast. "Well," Asher did. Finn didn't have much choice. "You can't go out looking like that," Asher said, eyeing the tailored clothes. Finn looked down at himself. "What's wrong with it?" "It screams money." "That's because I have money." "Yeah, and we're trying not to advertise that." Finn sighed but didn't argue. Instead, he accepted the hoodie Asher tossed at him. It was too big, worn, completely unlike anything Finn had ever worn before. He pulled it on anyway. Asher watched the transformation. Something about it, seeing Finn in his clothes, it did something strange to his chest. He ignored it. "Keep your head down," Asher said. "Don't talk unless you have to." Finn raised an eyebrow. "You're very bossy." "I'm keeping you out of trouble." "Same thing." Asher didn't respond. The outside world felt louder than Finn remembered. Not because it actually was, but because he hadn't realized how quiet his life had become inside controlled spaces. Here everything moved. Cars, people, noise, unpredictable, alive. Finn walked beside Asher, hands in his hoodie pockets, trying not to look like someone who didn't belong. Trying, and failing slightly. Asher noticed. Of course he did. "Relax," he muttered under his breath. "You look like you're about to get arrested." "I might," Finn replied quietly. "Not if you stop acting like it." Finn huffed softly but adjusted. Loosened. Just a little. They walked in silence for a while. Until, "Coffee," Finn said suddenly. Asher stopped. "What?" "I want coffee. This is not a cafe run." Finn glanced at him. "You said quick. Not joyless." Asher stared at him for a long second. Then, "Fine. One stop." Finn smiled faintly. It was small, but real. And Asher noticed that too. The cafe was quiet. Low traffic. Safe enough. They stepped inside, the faint hum of conversation and the smell of coffee wrapping around them. Finn exhaled softly. "This is nice." Asher rolled his eyes. "It's a cafe." It's normal, Finn corrected. That word again. Asher didn't comment. They ordered. Sat in a corner. Blended in. For a moment, it almost felt like nothing was wrong. Like this wasn't a kidnapping. Like they weren't playing a dangerous game. Just two people. Existing. Until it wasn't. Finn! The voice cut through the air like glass. Sharp. Immediate. Finn froze. Asher's head snapped up. A man stood near the counter, staring directly at them. Recognition clear in his eyes. Too clear. Shit! Asher muttered under his breath. Finn's pulse spiked. He didn't move. Didn't speak. The man took a step closer. Finn, what are you doing here? Everyone's been. Asher moved fast. He stood, grabbing Finn's arm. Not roughly, but firm enough. Wrong guy, he said calmly. The man frowned. No, wrong. Guy. There was something in Asher's tone. Cold. Final. Dangerous. The man hesitated. Just for a second. But it wasn't enough. Because recognition had already happened. And recognition meant risk. Asher didn't wait. Come on, he muttered, pulling Finn with him. They left fast. Not running, but close. The moment the door shut behind them, Asher's grip tightened. Head down, he said sharply. Finn obeyed. This time, no argument. No hesitation. They moved quickly through the streets, turning corners, changing pace, blending into movement. Asher didn't stop until they were far enough. Until the noise faded. Until the risk thinned. Only then, he let go. Silence hit hard. Finn leaned slightly against the wall, breathing steady but heavy. That was close. Asher ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Too close. Finn looked at him. You handled it well. Don't, Asher snapped. Finn blinked. I wasn't. I shouldn't have taken you out. Asher cut in. That was a mistake. Finn's expression shifted. That wasn't your fault. It is, Asher said. You're not just some guy. You're recognizable. Finn looked away slightly. Yeah. Silence. Tense. Then, you still didn't leave me, Finn said quietly. Asher frowned. What? You could've, Finn continued. Back there. It got risky. A beat. But you didn't. Asher held his gaze. Something sharp flickered between them. Don't read into it, Asher said finally. I don't break deals. Finn nodded slowly, but there was something else in his eyes now. Something warmer. Something more dangerous. I know, he said. The walk back was quieter. Closer. Not physically, but something had shifted. The risk had changed things. Made everything more real. More fragile. More intense. That night, Finn didn't go to the couch immediately. Instead, he lingered, near Asher. You were right, Finn said softly. Asher glanced at him. About what? This being dangerous. A pause. But not in the way I expected. Asher's eyes narrowed slightly. What does that mean? Finn held his gaze. Then, I'm starting to not want this week to end. Silence. Heavy. Asher didn't respond. Couldn't. Because the truth was, neither did he. And that was a problem. Part 5 too close. That night felt different. Not because anything had changed on the surface. The same walls. The same quiet hum of the city outside. The same distance between them. But something underneath it all had shifted. Subtle. Dangerous. Irreversible. Finn didn't go to sleep. Not right away. He sat on the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, staring at nothing in particular. Thinking. Replaying. The cafe. The voice. The moment everything almost collapsed. You should sleep, Asher said from across the room. Finn didn't look at him. Not tired. You will be. Eventually. Silence stretched. Then, you were scared, Finn said. Asher stilled. Not visibly, but enough. I wasn't. Finn finally turned, studying him. You tightened your grip. That's called keeping you from doing something stupid. You didn't let go even after we were safe. Asher's jaw shifted slightly. That's called making sure we stayed safe. Finn held his gaze. You stayed longer than necessary. That, that landed. Asher looked away first. You analyze too much. Finn's lips curved faintly. You noticed. Asher huffed under his breath. Annoyed. Not because Finn was wrong, but because he wasn't. The silence that followed wasn't tense. Not exactly. Just closer. Finn leaned back slightly, letting his head rest against the wall behind him. Can I ask you something? He said. Asher didn't answer right away. Then, depends. Why this? Asher frowned. This life, Finn clarified. Stealing, running, living like this. A pause. You're too careful for it to just be impulse. Asher's expression hardened slightly. Curiosity's going to get you in trouble. It already has. That answer was too quick. Too honest. Asher glanced at him again. Finn wasn't mocking. Wasn't prying for the sake of it. He just wanted to know. I didn't have a choice, Asher said finally. Finn didn't interrupt. Didn't ask for more. He just listened, which somehow made it harder to stop. Some people inherit companies. Asher continued, voice quieter now. Some inherit debt. Or worse. Finn's chest tightened slightly. Family? He asked carefully. Asher let out a short breath. Something like that. That was all he gave. But it was enough. Enough for Finn to understand. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't rebellion. This was survival. You're good at it, Finn said softly. Asher scoffed. Not a compliment. It is, Finn said. You made something out of nothing. Asher's eyes flickered. That wasn't how people usually saw it. He didn't respond, because he didn't know how. Your turn, Asher said after a moment. Why stay? Finn blinked. You could have run back there, Asher continued. At the cafe. One word and this whole thing would have been over. A beat. But you didn't. Finn looked down at his hands. Quiet. Still. Because for the first time, he said slowly, no one was deciding for me. Asher frowned slightly. That's it. Finn shook his head. No. He looked up. And this time, there was no deflection. No mask. Because I felt free, he said. The word lingered. Soft. But heavy. Asher held his gaze. Something about the way Finn said it. Not dramatic. Not exaggerated. Just real. It hit deeper than it should have. You think this is freedom? Asher asked. Finn considered that. Then, no. A pause. But it's closer than anything else I've had. Silence settled again. Thicker this time. More aware. The distance between them had shrunk. Not physically, but in every other way that mattered. Finn shifted slightly on the couch. Come here. Asher blinked. What? I'm not going to bite, Finn said. Faint amusement in his tone. That's not reassuring. Finn smiled, small but genuine. Just sit. Asher hesitated. This was unnecessary. Pointless. A bad idea. And yet, he moved. Slowly. Carefully. He sat on the other end of the couch, leaving space between them. Not too close. Not too far. Safe. Finn didn't comment on the distance. But he noticed it. Of course he did. You're always like this? Finn asked. Like what? Guarded. Asher leaned back slightly, crossing his arms. Comes with the job. Finn tilted his head. Or the life. Asher didn't answer. Didn't need to. The silence said enough. Minutes passed. Quiet. Comfortable in a strange way. Then, Finn shifted again. Closer. Just slightly. Asher noticed immediately, but didn't move away. Didn't close the distance either. Just stayed. You don't have to keep your distance, Finn said softly. Asher let out a quiet breath. Yeah, I do. Why? Asher turned his head, meeting his gaze. Because this is temporary. Because you're leaving. Because this ends. But he didn't say any of that. Instead, because this isn't real, he said. Finn's expression changed. Not hurt. Not offended. Just thoughtful. It feels real, Finn said. That was dangerous. Asher looked away. Don't confuse the situation with something it's not. Finn didn't argue. Didn't push. He just moved closer again. This time, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. Almost. Asher's breath caught. Just slightly. Finn, he warned. But it didn't sound like a warning. Finn turned his head. Their eyes met. Close now. Too close. What if I don't want to keep pretending it's not real? Finn asked quietly. Asher's pulse picked up. This was crossing a line. A line he shouldn't let blur. Then you're making a mistake, Asher said. Finn held his gaze. Would it be? A beat. Silence. Tension. Thick. Electric. Fragile. Then, Finn's hand moved. Slow. Careful. He didn't touch Asher. Not yet. Just hovered. Waiting. Giving him time to stop it. To pull away. To end it. Asher didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't think. And that was the problem. Because for the first time, he didn't want to stop it. Their fingers brushed. Light. Barely there. But it was enough. More than enough. The air shifted instantly. Warmer. Closer. Dangerous in a completely different way now. Asher's hand tightened slightly. Not pulling away. Not holding on. Just there. Finn's breath softened. Still think this isn't real? He whispered. Asher swallowed. Hard. I think, he said quietly. This is exactly why it can't be. But he didn't let go. And neither did Finn. That night, they stayed like that longer than they should have. Too close. Too aware. Too much. And when they finally pulled apart, nothing felt the same anymore. Part 6. Cracks in the deal. By the third day, the silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was waiting. Asher noticed it first. The shift in the air. The tension that didn't come from inside the room, but from somewhere beyond it. Something was off. And in his world, off meant danger. He stood by the window, barely moving the curtain aside, scanning the street below. Same as always, but not the same. There were more cars passing than usual. A little slower, a little more deliberate. His jaw tightened. We have a problem, he said. Behind him, Finn looked up from the couch. A real one? He asked. Asher didn't answer immediately. That was answer enough. Finn stood. What is it? Asher dropped the curtain and turned. You've been gone too long. Finn went still. Of course. That was inevitable. You think they've started looking? Asher gave him a flat look. You're a billionaire who disappeared 3 days before his wedding. A beat. They're not just looking. Finn exhaled slowly. Right? The weight of it settled in. Not panic, but reality. It had finally caught up. They'll assume kidnapping, Finn said. Because that's what this is. Not exactly. Asher raised an eyebrow. Oh? Want to explain that to whoever's out there? Finn didn't respond. Because he knew. That wouldn't matter. Not to the world outside. What do we do? Finn asked. Asher paced once across the room, thinking fast. We don't change anything. Finn frowned. That doesn't sound like a plan. It is, Asher said. The more you react, the more you get noticed. A pause. You stay gone. I stay careful. Finn studied him. You've dealt with this before. Asher didn't answer directly. I've dealt with worse. That wasn't reassuring. But Finn believed him anyway. Hours passed. Tense. Quiet. Every sound felt sharper. Every second stretched thinner. Finn tried to sit still. Tried not to think about it. But his mind didn't stop. His family. The company. The media. The narrative they were probably building already. Kidnapped. Missing. Victim. He let out a quiet breath, rubbing his face. They'll be tearing everything apart, he muttered. Asher glanced at him. Good. Means they're not looking in the right places yet. Finn let out a faint, humorless laugh. You're very calm about this. I'm alive because I stay calm. Finn looked at him. Really looked. You don't seem worried about getting caught. Asher met his gaze. I'm worried about you getting careless. That landed differently. Finn held his eyes for a second longer than necessary. I won't, he said quietly. Asher nodded once. He believed him, and that might have been the most dangerous part. Evening came slower, heavier. The tension didn't ease. It deepened. And somewhere in between, something cracked. I should go back. The words came out of nowhere. Soft, but solid. Asher turned sharply. What? Finn stood near the window, arms crossed tightly. I said I'd stay a week, he continued. But if this turns into something bigger, it already is. Asher cut in. Finn shook his head. No, I mean bigger than just me running away. Asher's eyes narrowed. This was always bigger than you. Finn flinched slightly at that. Not visibly, but enough. People are getting involved now, Finn said. Authorities. Media. A pause. You could get caught because of me. Asher let out a short, sharp laugh. You think I didn't know that when I said yes? That was before this escalated. This was always going to escalate. Finn stepped closer. This isn't just about money anymore. It never was, Asher snapped. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Finn held his gaze. Then what is it about? The question hung between them. Too real. Too close. Asher didn't answer, because he didn't want to say it out loud. Didn't want to admit that this had stopped being just a deal a while ago. You should go back, Finn said again, quieter this time. Asher's chest tightened. No. Finn blinked. No. No. The word was firm. Final. Unmoving. Finn frowned. You don't get to decide that. Actually, Asher said, stepping closer. I do. Their distance closed. Not soft this time. Not hesitant. Tense. Charged. You made a deal, Asher continued. 1 week. And I can change my mind. Not about this. Finn's jaw tightened. Why? 'Cause I'm not ready for you to leave. Because this ends the second you walk out. Because I don't trust what happens after. But instead, because I don't walk away from something halfway, Asher said. Finn stared at him. That wasn't the full truth. But it wasn't a lie either. This is my life, Finn said. And you chose to step out of it. Asher shot back. A beat. Don't pretend that decision doesn't come with consequences. Silence. Breathing. Close. Too close. Finn looked away first. I didn't think it would get this complicated. Asher let out a quieter breath. It always does. The tension didn't break. It shifted. Lower. Deeper. More dangerous. That night, the distance between them disappeared again. Not all at once. Not intentionally. But inevitably. Finn sat beside Asher. Closer than before. No hesitation this time. No pretending. If I go back, Finn said quietly, everything resets. Asher didn't respond. I become who they expect again. A pause. And this? Finn glanced at him, voice softer now. Never happened. That hit harder than anything else. Asher's jaw tightened. This was never meant to last, he said. Finn's gaze didn't waver. I know. A beat. But that doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Silence. Heavy. Real. Finn's hand found his again. Not hesitant now. Not uncertain. Just sure. Asher didn't pull away. Didn't resist. Because he couldn't. Because he didn't want to. This was a mistake, Asher said quietly. Finn's fingers tightened slightly. Then why does it feel like the only right one? Asher didn't answer. Because he didn't have one. Outside, the world was closing in. Searching. Getting closer. Inside, they were already too far gone. Part 7. No turning back. The fourth day started with silence. Not the calm kind. The kind that felt like something was about to go wrong. Asher woke before sunrise. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the feeling in his chest. Tight. Uneasy. Wrong. He sat up slowly, eyes already scanning the room. Finn was still asleep on the couch. One arm draped over his face, breathing steady. Peaceful. Too peaceful. Asher exhaled quietly, running a hand through his hair. Something's off, he muttered. And in his world, that instinct wasn't something you ignored. He checked everything. Doors, windows, entry points. Nothing disturbed. No signs of forced entry. No obvious threat. And yet, the feeling didn't leave. If anything, it got worse. By mid-morning, Finn noticed it too. "You've checked that window 5 times, he said, watching Asher pace. Asher didn't stop. 6. Finn sat up, frowning slightly. "What's going on?" Asher paused. Just long enough to decide how much to say. "Someone's close." Finn went still. "Close how?" "I don't know yet." Not a comforting answer, but an honest one. Finn stood, tension creeping into his posture. "They found me." It wasn't a question. Asher didn't confirm it, but he didn't deny it either. An hour later, they got their answer. A knock. Sharp, precise, not loud, but deliberate. Both of them froze. The sound echoed through the small space like a warning shot. Finn's pulse spiked instantly. "Asher," he whispered. Asher raised a hand. Quiet, still, listening. Another knock. This time, "Mr. Calder." The voice was calm, professional, controlled. Finn's stomach dropped. "That's my family's security," he said under his breath. Of course it was. Of course they'd send professionals. Asher's mind moved fast. Too fast. Options. Exits. Risks. There weren't many, and none of them were clean. "Open the door, sir." The voice continued. "We know you're inside." Silence. Heavy. Pressing. Finn looked at Asher. Something uncertain flickering in his eyes now. "They found me," he repeated quietly. Asher's jaw tightened. "Yeah, they had." "We are not here to harm you," the voice said. "We just want to take you home." Home. The word felt wrong in the air. Finn's expression hardened slightly. "That's not home," he muttered. Asher glanced at him, and in that moment, he knew. Finn wasn't going to go willingly. "Time's up," Asher said quietly. Finn looked at him. "What?" "You go back. This ends here." The words came out sharp, controlled, but something underneath them, something tight, betrayed him. Finn stared. "No." Asher blinked. "No, I'm not going back like this. You don't have a choice." "I do." Another knock. Harder this time. "Mr. Calder, if you do not respond, we will enter." Asher swore under his breath. "This isn't a debate anymore." Finn stepped closer. "It is for me." Their eyes locked, tension snapping tight between them. "You said 1 week," Finn said. "We're not done. We are now." "That's not your decision." "It is when this turns into something I can't control." Finn's expression shifted. "You're scared." Asher's gaze sharpened. "Don't." "You are," Finn pressed. "Not of them, of this ending." That hit too close. Asher grabbed his arm. Not gentle, not rough, just firm. This was always going to end. Finn didn't pull away. "Then why does it feel like you don't want it to?" Silence. The kind that said too much. The lock clicked. Soft, but unmistakable. Asher's head snapped toward the door. "They're coming in." Time ran out. "Last chance," Asher said, turning back to Finn. "You walk out, this stays clean." Finn's chest rose and fell steadily. "And you? What about me? You just disappear?" Asher didn't answer. Didn't need to. That was always the plan. Footsteps outside. Closer. The door handle moved. Finn made a decision. Right then. Not logical. Not safe. But real. "I'm not going," he said. Asher froze. "What?" "I'm not going back with them." The door started to open. Asher's pulse spiked. "Finn, I mean it." The door creaked. Just enough. Asher moved. Fast. He grabbed Finn's wrist and pulled. They slipped out the back exit just as voices filled the room. "Clear the area. Check all exits." Too late. They ran. Not aimlessly. Not blindly. But fast enough that thinking came second. The alley stretched ahead of them. Narrow. Shadows swallowing them whole. Finn stumbled once. Asher didn't let go. Didn't slow down. Didn't even think about it. Only when they were far enough. When the noise faded. When the risk thinned. Did they stop. Both breathing hard. Both too close. You're insane, Asher said, still holding his wrist. Finn let out a breathless laugh. You stole me. That was different. How? I didn't know you then. Silence. Heavy. Real. Asher looked at him. Really looked. And something in his expression changed. Shifted. Locked in. This changes everything, he said. Finn nodded. I know. You don't go back now. There's no clean ending. I know. They won't stop looking. I know. Asher stepped closer. You're choosing this. Finn met his gaze. Steady. Certain. I'm choosing you. That broke something. Or maybe built something. Asher didn't know which. Didn't care. Because this wasn't a deal anymore. Wasn't a job. Wasn't temporary. This was real. And there was no turning back now. Part 8. Running together. They didn't go back to the safe house. That much was obvious the second they stopped running. Asher leaned against a wall in a narrow side street, chest rising and falling, eyes scanning every direction like he expected the world to close in at any moment. Because now, could. Finn stood a few feet away, equally breathless, but quieter about it. Watching, taking it all in. So, Finn said after a moment, voice still slightly unsteady, this is what your life actually looks like. Asher shot him a look. This is what your choice looks like. Finn didn't flinch. I don't regret it. Asher held his gaze for a second longer than necessary, then looked away. You should, he muttered. But there was no weight behind it. Not anymore. They moved again within minutes. No lingering. No hesitation. Asher led. Finn followed. No arguments this time. No questions. Just trust. Unspoken. But there. The new place wasn't like the first one. Smaller. More hidden. Less comfortable. Temporary in every sense. Finn stepped inside, glancing around. Cozier, he said dryly. Asher locked the door behind them. Don't get used to it. Finn nodded. I won't. A pause. Because we won't stay long. Asher looked at him. Sharp. You're learning. Finn gave a faint smile. From the best. Asher scoffed but didn't argue. The shift between them was undeniable now. There was no pretending. No distance to hide behind. No deal to justify anything. Just choice and consequence. That night the silence returned. But it wasn't heavy like before. It was closer. Warmer. Alive. Finn sat on the floor this time, back against the wall, knees drawn slightly up. Asher leaned against the opposite side, watching him without meaning to. You keep looking at me like you're trying to figure something out, Finn said quietly. Asher didn't deny it. I am. Finn tilted his head. And? Asher hesitated. Then, I don't get you. Finn smiled faintly. That makes two of us. You had everything, Asher continued. Money, power, control, a beat. And you walked away from it. Finn's expression softened slightly. I didn't have control. Asher frowned. You just said. I had expectations, Finn corrected. That's not the same thing. Silence. Asher considered that, then nodded once. Fair. And you? Finn asked. Asher glanced at him. What about me? You never wanted more? The question lingered. Not accusatory. Not naive. Just real. Asher let out a quiet breath. Wanting more doesn't mean you get it. Finn held his gaze. No. But it means you don't settle. Asher almost laughed. Almost. Easy to say when you've never had to choose between survival and anything else. Finn didn't look away. What if I told you I'm choosing now? Asher stilled slightly. Choosing what? Finn's voice dropped. This. The space between them seemed to shrink again, without either of them moving. You don't even know what this is, Asher said. Finn's lips curved faintly. Then maybe we figure it out. Dangerous. That idea. It was reckless. Unstable. Exactly the kind of thing Asher avoided. And yet, he didn't shut it down. Didn't walk away. Didn't put distance back between them. You're going to regret this, Asher said quietly. Finn shook his head. Not this part. Their eyes met, held, neither looking away. Finn moved first this time. Not hesitant. Not unsure. He shifted closer, closing the space between them until it wasn't just almost anymore. Their shoulders touched. Warm. Real. Asher's breath caught just slightly. "You don't stop, do you?" he murmured. Finn glanced at him. "Do you want me to?" That was the question. The one that mattered. The one that could end this before it got any deeper. Asher could have said yes. Should have said yes. But instead, "No," he said. And that was it. The line disappeared completely after that. Finn's hand found his again. Not testing. Not waiting. Just certain. Asher didn't resist. Didn't hesitate. This time he turned fully toward him. Close. Too close. But neither of them cared anymore. "This is a bad idea," Asher said softly. Finn's lips brushed near his ear as he answered. "Then stop me." He didn't. The first kiss wasn't rushed. Wasn't desperate. It was slow. Careful. Like they both needed to confirm it was real. And when it was, everything shifted. Again. But this time, there was no pulling back. No denial. No pretending it didn't mean something. Because it did. Too much. Asher's hand moved instinctively, gripping the fabric of Finn's hoodie. His hoodie. Grounding. Holding. Real. Finn's breath softened against him. Steady but uneven in a way that mirrored his own. There was no urgency. No pressure. Just connection. Unexpected. Unplanned. Unavoidable. When they finally pulled back, barely, their foreheads rested together. Breathing shared. Space gone. "Still think this ends clean?" Finn whispered. Asher let out a quiet breath. "No." A pause. "But I don't think I care anymore." Finn smiled softly. Neither did he. Outside, the world was still searching. Still closing in. Still waiting to drag Finn back into the life he left behind. Inside, they had something else. Something fragile. Something real. Something that wasn't supposed to exist. And that made it all the more dangerous. Part 9. The Cost of Freedom. Freedom didn't last long. It never did. By the 5th day, the world caught up. Hard. Asher knew something was wrong the moment he stepped outside that morning. Not just instinct this time. Evidence. A car parked too long across the street. Windows tinted. Engine off. But not abandoned. Watching. Waiting. His jaw tightened. "They're getting closer," he muttered. When he stepped back inside, Finn was already looking at him. "You saw it too." It wasn't a question. Asher nodded once. "Yeah." Finn exhaled slowly. "How bad?" Asher didn't sugarcoat it. "Bad enough that we don't stay here tonight." Finn nodded. No hesitation. No argument. He'd learned. They packed fast. Or rather, Asher did. Finn didn't have much to pack. And that realization hit harder than expected. No belongings. No attachment to anything outside of what he walked away from. And what he'd found here. "This is it," Finn said quietly. Asher glanced at him. "What?" "This is all I have right now." A pause. "And it doesn't feel like nothing." Asher didn't respond. Because he understood. More than he should. They left before sunset. Careful. Quiet. Invisible. Or as close to invisible as they could manage. But it wasn't enough. Halfway down the block, a voice cut through the air. "Finn!" Both of them froze. Too familiar. Too close. Finn's breath caught. "That's—" "I know," Asher said sharply. Because he did. Even without knowing the man personally. He knew the type. Sharp suit. Controlled posture. Authority in every step. Not just security. Something higher. Someone who wasn't used to being ignored. "My father," Finn finished. That changed everything. The man stepped closer, eyes locked on Finn. Relief flashed across his face. Then anger. Sharp. Immediate. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he demanded. Finn didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't run. Asher stayed beside him. Not in front. Not behind. Beside. "I made a choice," Finn said calmly. His father scoffed. This isn't a choice. This is recklessness. A glance toward Asher. Cold. Judging. And this, he added, voice tightening, is a mistake. Asher's expression didn't change, but something in his stance did. Subtle. Protective. I'm not going back, Finn said. Firm. Certain. His father's eyes hardened. You don't get to decide that. I just did. Silence snapped tight between them. You think this ends well? His father continued. You disappear, destroy months of work, humiliate our name, and for what? A pause. For him, the way he said it, dismissive, sharp, reducing everything to something small, insignificant. Asher's jaw tightened. Finn didn't flinch. Yes, he said. The word landed like a fracture. Clean. Irreversible. His father stared at him, then laughed. Short. Disbelieving. You don't even know him. Finn glanced at Asher briefly, then back. I know enough. That's not how the world works. It is for me. Silence. Heavy. Unforgiving. His father's expression shifted. Less anger now. More calculation. You're coming back, he said, quieter this time. Whether you agree or not. Asher tensed. That tone. He recognized it. Control disguised as inevitability. You can't force me, Finn said. His father didn't answer immediately. Then, no, he said, but I can make sure he pays for it. The words hung there, cold, precise. Asher felt it immediately. The shift, the target moving. Finn's expression changed. Don't, he said sharply. His father didn't look at him. His gaze stayed on Asher. You think you can just take something that belongs to me and walk away? Asher's eyes darkened. He's not yours. That was the wrong thing to say. Or maybe, the only right thing. His father's lips pressed into a thin line. You have no idea what you've stepped into. Asher didn't back down. I don't scare easy. No, the man replied calmly. You just don't understand scale yet. A pause. But you will. That was enough. Too much. Asher turned to Finn. This is where it ends. Finn's head snapped toward him. No. Yes. You don't get to decide that. I do now. Finn stepped closer. Anger flashing. You're doing exactly what he wants. I'm doing what keeps you safe. This isn't about safety. It is. Asher cut in. Sharp. Final. For the first time, his voice carried something stronger than control. Fear. Not for himself. For Finn. They'll ruin you, Finn said. They'll ruin you worse, Asher replied. A beat. You go back, this stops. Finn shook his head. No. Finn. I'm not choosing them. You're not choosing me either if you stay. Silence. That hit. Hard. Finn's chest rose and fell unevenly. Don't do this, he said quietly. Asher stepped back. Distance. Forced. Necessary. This was never meant to last, he said. The same words. But heavier now. Real. Final. Finn looked at him like something was breaking. You said you didn't care how it ended. Asher held his gaze. I lied. It was the first lie he'd told him. And it hurt more than anything else. Go back, Asher said. Soft now, but firm. Please. That word. It almost broke Finn. Silence stretched. Then, slowly, Finn stepped back. Not because he wanted to, but because he understood. This wasn't Asher pushing him away. This was Asher choosing to take the hit instead. His father watched it all. Quiet. Satisfied. Finn's voice came out barely above a whisper. This isn't over. Asher didn't answer, because if he did, he might not let him go. Finn turned, walked toward the car waiting behind his father, each step heavier than the last. But he didn't stop, didn't look back, until, the last second, their eyes met, across the distance, across everything. And in that moment, nothing felt finished. But everything had already fallen apart. Part 10, After the Fall. 3 weeks later, the world had moved on. At least that's what it looked like. The headlines faded. The speculation died down. The story reshaped itself into something cleaner, easier to accept. Missing billionaire returns safely. Wedding postponed due to unforeseen circumstances. Family declines further comment. Everything controlled. Everything contained. Everything a false. Finn stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling window, the city stretching endlessly below him. The same view, the same height, the same life, but it didn't feel the same. Not anymore. You handled the press well. The voice came from behind him, measured, calm, expected. Finn didn't turn. Did I? His father stepped further into the room. You said what needed to be said. Finn let out a quiet breath. Right? A pause. You're back where you belong, his father added. That almost made Finn laugh. Is that what this is? He asked softly. His father didn't answer. Because the truth was, even he could see it. Finn wasn't the same. I called off the wedding, Finn said. That got a reaction. Small, but there. Temporarily, his father corrected. No. Finn turned this time, meeting his gaze directly. Not temporarily. Silence. Tension. Sharp and familiar. You don't make decisions like that alone, his father said. I just did. The same words. The same certainty. But this time, there was no hesitation behind them. His father studied him. Longer than usual. This is about him. Not a question. Finn didn't deny it. Yes. A beat. And I'm not going to pretend it isn't. That was new. Honesty without calculation. Choice without permission. You're throwing everything away, his father said. Finn shook his head slowly. No. Pause. I'm finally choosing something. Silence stretched between them. Unresolved. Unfixed. But different. Because for the first time, Finn wasn't bending. I won't support this, his father said finally. Finn nodded. I know. And him. A slight tilt of his head. What do you think he's doing right now? That question stayed with Finn long after the conversation ended. Because he didn't know. Asher had disappeared. Just like he always would. No trace. No contact. No way to find him. That was the rule. The life. The ending. And yet, Finn couldn't accept that. Not after everything. Not after what they had. So he searched. Not publicly. Not loudly. But carefully. Quietly. Following threads most people wouldn't notice. Patterns. Movements. Absences. Days turned into weeks. And just when it started to feel impossible, he found something. Place. Small. Hidden. The kind of place that didn't belong to people like him. Finn stood outside it, heart pounding harder than it had in weeks. Maybe months. Maybe ever. This is insane, he muttered under his breath. And yet, he stepped forward. Inside, the space was quiet, minimal, familiar in a way that hit deeper than expected. And then, you shouldn't be here. Finn froze. That voice. He turned. Slowly. Asher stood across the room. Exactly as he remembered. And not at all. They stared at each other. For a long moment. Neither moving. Neither speaking. Because there was too much to say. And no easy way to say it. You found me, Asher said finally. Not surprised. Just certain. Finn took a step closer. You didn't make it hard enough. A faint hint of something flickered in Asher's expression. Almost a smile. Almost. You shouldn't have come, Asher continued. Finn shook his head. I couldn't not. A pause. I tried. That landed. Silence settled again. But it wasn't empty. It was full. Heavy. Real. You're back, Asher said. Finn nodded. Yeah. And I'm not staying. That changed everything. Asher's eyes sharpened. What? I ended it, Finn said. The wedding. The expectations. All of it. A beat. I walked away. Asher stared at him. Trying to read him. Trying to understand. If this was real. Or just another moment that would disappear. You don't walk away from something like that, he said. Finn stepped closer. You do if it was never yours to begin with. Silence. Closer now. Too close to pretend distance still existed. And now? Asher asked. Finn held his gaze. Steady. Certain. Now I choose what is. A pause. And I'm choosing this. The words hit harder this time. Because now, there was no deal. No time limit. No escape clause. Just choice. Asher exhaled slowly. You don't know what you're choosing. Finn's lips curved faintly. You said that before. A step closer. You were wrong then too. Asher let out a quiet, almost disbelieving breath. This isn't easy. I don't want easy. This isn't safe. I don't want safe. A beat. I want real. Silence. Heavy. Breaking. Asher stepped forward, closing the last of the distance. And if this goes wrong? Finn didn't hesitate. Then it was still worth it. That was it. That was the moment. The line. The choice. Asher reached for him. Not careful this time. Not hesitant. Certain. And when their lips met, it wasn't soft. It wasn't testing. It was real. Full. Unrestrained. Everything they hadn't said. Everything they almost lost. Everything they chose anyway. When they finally pulled back, nothing felt uncertain anymore. You're not leaving? Asher asked quietly. Finn shook his head. Not this time. Outside, the world still existed. Still complicated. Still waiting. But inside, they had something stronger. Not perfect. Not easy. But real. And this time, they weren't borrowing freedom. They were choosing it. Together. The end. If you like the story, don't forget to subscribe and like for more wonderful BL stories.